Today we're talking about work that was done in Mexico with Kraft. And Conrado Garcia Madrid is going to talk with us about this project. So this project started, when did this project?
2003.
2003.
Yeah, wow. It's been a long
Excellent.
time.
Exactly. So this is Kraft in Mexico. And
Right.
what kinds of products did this specific group that we know of that they make?
Well, I think it's. I will give a little context about this project because it's interesting to know that back then we had a partnership with a guy named Jorge Cepeda, uh, who is a very big fan of the managing from clarity methodology. And the minute he read the book, he fell in love with the concept and the framework and everything. So immediately he started working with. All his projects were based in a strategy. He used a lot of simulation with boards, with physical boards, and very interesting kind of seminars, courses, workshops, and this kind of things. So he fell in love, as I was saying, he fell in love with the managing from clarity framework. And from the very beginning, he tried to start using it in his seminars, complementing his boards and the simulators. So one of the projects, and this is basically Kraft. What he wanted to do is a little bit of analysis, a little bit of the systemic map, a causal map, and then complement the analysis and the map with a simulator, the computer simulator. So basically, the idea was to create a custom made simulator for the salespeople of Kraft, all the distribution of Kraft in Mexico, and I believe that's the way they do it all over the world. But the distribution part of Kraft is an outsourcing. So there are many different distribution companies selling the Kraft products all over the country. So they had like 30, more or less 30 main companies that had all that distribution. And they have an annual convention in I, rem- I believe it was very near here, Querétaro, in a very beautiful hacienda type of hotel. So, so the idea was to use the simulation for them to understand what are the main dynamics in selling the and distributing the product. So it was very interesting because there were a lot of people with a lot of expertise around this kind of work. A lot of new people getting into the business. So it was very interesting how the experts were understanding what are the dynamics that are really moving the system, no, or moving also. So it was a whole day and a half workshop with this kind of tools. And after using the simulation and after having all of them talking about the reflection and insights, we presented the analysis of what are the what were the dynamics or what were the most important leverage points in these dynamics, and they were like very surprised. It was very interesting to see how people with 25 years of experience being very surprised around the results and having a lot of conversations around how true and how they can use that kind of knowledge and insights in order to move the system in a different way, no? So it was a very interesting kind of project. We didn't have any follow up with them, unfortunately. But I think because of the feedback we received at the end of the workshop, it was really interesting to understand their perspective of how can they use this kind of learning. No, it was a very interesting project to understand the paradigm shift. No, in order to know this is the way I've been doing this work. This is the way I've been understanding this kind of dynamics and businesses, and all of a sudden something shift in your head, and you will start doing something different. Also with these companies that have been working with Kraft for a long time, they were some of the new of those companies, like, I told you so, Dad, and you never listened to me. And it was really interesting to see that kind of dynamics happening all over the group.
So how many people were participating in this process? Or
I think it was like a 60 people workshop, so it was a huge crowd, a very big crowd for a workshop. They had the opportunity to have people from the same company, no? So that was the reason there was
so
so
there were
many
people
people.
from within Kraft and some of their suppliers or different
Yeah,
tiers in the supply chain.
people from Kraft, they were from the sales department, no? The head of the sales department, the head of the distribution, the guy that was coordinating all the distributors and distributors, and it was very interesting to see them. They're also their insight, no, their learning around what was happening there. No?
And how long was the workshop?
The workshop was a day and a half for us, and they stay another day and a half with them in order to give all their messages. And it was interesting because the reason they asked for this kind of dynamic was because they were trying to change some of the policies and some of the way they were working. So it was very interesting, very good timing for them to have this paradigm shift and understanding differently how
So
they
you,
need to be working. No?
so you started by meeting with some leadership team to decide what you were going to work on. Then you did some simulation modeling and validation of the simulator and some strategic analysis. And then you had this workshop to sort of bring all of it together for folks.
Yeah, the workshop was the end of the process. Basically, the first phase of the project was to interview all these people from Kraft at the very beginning.
Right.
And after interviewing the Kraft people, we had some conversation with some distributors also to have their perspective as well. So yeah, we create the model with them, and all the analysis, and we validate all the analysis and the results and the insights with them before the workshop. And also during the workshop, it was very interesting to understand the kind of conversation of why do you say this is how it works. And after explaining, it was like, yeah, that it was kind of also a validation for them, and very interesting to create this kind of exercises, this kind of computer simulation for a company, for a specific company. No, very simple, very small, very right to the point kind of simulation.
So then in the day and a half workshop, what was sort of an overview of what happened during that workshop? They came in and tried to understand what they were doing, played with the
Right.
model a little bit, or
Usually, these kinds of conventions are used to deliver results. No? This is how the year looked like. This is the result. this is the way we are going to be working next year. That's the kind of things that usually they do, no, and celebrate a lot. That's the salespeople modus operandi, no? They celebrate a lot, so that's kind of the intention of the meeting. But in this time, they wanted to do something different. They asked for an exercise for them to understand what is going on instead of just saying, okay, this is the results and the most profitable distributor is this one, no, as always. So instead of doing that and say, okay, this is the fifth year in a row that this is the most important company, no, in selling our product, they try to say, okay, why for you to be the most successful company, no? And what can you do? What can we do together in order to scale these results in order for us, all of us, to move forward, no, not just you. And usually they don't have the words to explain why they are doing what they're doing, but they when they use this tool, and when they understood together the analysis and the results, it was very interesting to see how they could be able to articulate what am I doing wrong, or what is he doing right,
right. So
in order to get to those results.
this kind of exercise we're doing with very small groups. So with 60 people, I'm assuming that there were some they were doing it in small groups or individually and coming up with insights and questions and having discussion, or how did you? So basically, to give an overview for folks of what did you do with 60 people in a day and a half to get their heads around the systemic understanding with the simulator and analysis?
Yeah, after the first thing was, let's get to the simulation. Now we had some explaining. That's what Jorge did really well. He gave the context of what is strategy, why do we need to do a strategy and everything, you know. So there, more or less, we have 10 companies, 10 different organizations with 6 people each one, and these 10 organizations represent like 70-80% of the sales of Kraft, and that's the reason they were the ones that were picked, you know, in order to get to this convening. So at the very beginning, they have a very small introduction about the strategy. They have a very brief introduction about the simulation. First thing is start working on this. So it was completely blank. No, there is no more explanation. You start doing what you know what to do. No, these are the indicators. These are your levers. So good luck. So from there, they have these results, and they were like, no, that cannot be. This must be wrong. You know, the kind of things that people usually said, no, in order to justify their results. But after a small reflection about, and the simulation took like 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, no, and we have some brief pauses in order for them to converse around what is going on, no, why are we, what's the reason that we are having these results, and what we need to do it to do. And I forgot something very important. At the very beginning, they had to reflect their strategy in a paper. So they had to follow their strategy in order to know what's going on. So
statement of what our strategy is going to be, and then this is what we actually implemented, so that we can actually see our results versus trying to justify afterwards what we did. Right?
That's right. So that was the first thing. So in some point in the middle, we said, okay, is this working or not? No. If you need to do something different, this is the moment to do that. No, so it was so they were saying, okay, so now we have a lot of salesmen, but we don't have transportation, so we need more trucks, no, or that kind of thing. So they redo or adjust their strategy and continue the simulation. Some of them broke station at the middle or some way around the simulation, but it was very interesting to understand what was happening in their heads and what was the explanation of everything. So afterwards, we had a very long conversation around what happened. We asked the winner, no, the winner organization to explain the strategy, and we asked the loser, the loser organization to explain what happened, no, and that's kind of the thing with the simulation, that actually the losers, no, the ones that get the company broken, no, they are the ones that learn the most of the process. So after explaining what happened and what do we do wrong and what do we do right, we explained the model. We explained the insights of the causal and the analysis. So people were like, okay, that's very helpful. This is very interesting to understand. This is very interesting to see, no? And despite the tools or the language we were using, it was very transparent for them to understand what was happening, no? In a very simple, practical way, and there was no doubt that this was their system. So they embraced the analysis, they embraced the map and the results, and start doing something different. Gone, no? That was the intention of the organization, basically.
That's great, because to me, it's a great example of, we can say it's going to take people weeks or months to understand this. And you say, well, that might be true for you, but it took a half a day and they were already using it and learning from it.
Right. And actually the part of understanding that you need to shift your paradigm, it could take a lifetime, or you will never do that. That's the other option, no? It's a very difficult thing to do, actually, especially if you have 25 years experience in your business, no? So there is no reason for me to shift my paradigm. So in a day and a half meeting, they were able, everyone was able to say, okay, we need to do things differently in order to survive or to continue the success in this kind of business.
Excellent. So this is clear to me as sort of what they wanted, what you guys did for the process, how you use simulation and strategic analysis. Excuse me, with a large group to come to that insight, those insights, and some of the shifts that they experienced. To finish up, were there any insights that you can remember for you that came through going through this process from the beginning, using the simulation, the analysis, and coming at it this way with a group at the end? Any insights that you had for the process or work?
Yeah, it's very difficult for an organization like Kraft to understand that each one of the distributors are different. It's for them, everyone has the same infrastructure, has the same opportunity, and it's very difficult to understand each one. So when they were there using the simulation, they were able to see how different the mental model is for each one of them, and what are they saying, no, around the same business. So for me, it was very interesting to understand how a very, very big company can actually shift as well the paradigm in order to have different different treatment for different people, for different organizations they were outsourcing, you know? So it's that for me is very, very, very interesting, you know, because they also because they are very big, a very big company, a very big global company. They usually do things the same way always, with no particular reason. And for me, it's very interesting to understand how they hire us for a very specific purpose, and at the end, they also learn a lot, no, about the that specific objective, no.
That's great. Thank you for Conrado for sharing the story about Kraft.
Thank you.